Howdy and welcome back to Celebrating Vintage Model Kits. Finishing up B-29 week with Revell's 1954 Boeing B-29 Giant Superfortress. This is in 1/33rd scale. It's kit number H20898. And this was box art by Richard Kashadi, and for me, this is, I think, one of the most beautiful box arts ever produced. The colors, just the image, I think, is just absolutely fantastic. But there is a big error in here, so for those of you who got some sharp eyes, tell me in the description or in the comment section, what's the error that you see being done here. But anyway, so to continue with the B-29 story a little bit, on July 26, 1945, at the Potsdam Conference, there was an unconditional surrender announcement again to the Japanese. The Germans had surrendered, so everybody was focusing on defeating the Japanese. So they put out another call for Japan to surrender, or, quote, face prompt and utter destruction. So 5 targets had been selected for the first atomic bomb use. Kokura, Hiroshima, Yokohama, Niigata, and Kyoto. Those were the first 5 selected. They'd been kind of left alone from the fire bombings that had been taking place in 45. So that way they'd have a fairly fresh target to be able to really make an impact with. Kyoto was eventually replaced by Nagasaki. And then ultimately Hiroshima was selected as the first target for a combination of reasons. It showed up really well on radar, being having a river running through it. So if they were going to have to use radar bombing, it was a really good target for that. There was also a lot of hills surrounding it, so they anticipated that would increase the effect. And it was a good mix of military and civilian targets. They wanted some civilian involved with it to have the most shock value, and it was also a poor incendiary target because it had a river running through it, and they had knocked down a lot of buildings to create fire breaks in the city, so they felt that it wasn't a good target for regular incendiary bombing. So there was, at the time, approximately 340 to 350,000 people living there. So B-29, B-29 4486292 was selected by Colonel Tibbets off the production line to become one of the Silver Plate aircraft, and ultimately was named after his mom. It was a B-29-45MO off of the Martin production line in Oklahoma, and so then it was assigned to the 393rd. When it went out for its atomic mission, it was accompanied by 2 other B-29s, the Great Artiste and Necessary Evil. One was to photograph, and one was to take measurements. Hiroshima was the primary target for that day, and Kokura and Nagasaki were the secondary and tertiary targets. So the code name for the Enola Gay on that day was Dimples 82. All the aircraft that flew out that day were under the code name Dimples, and 82 was the Victor number on the Enola Gay. So they made their way separately to the rendezvous. They took off at 0245 Tinian time, and made their way to the rendezvous over Iwo Jima. So they each kind of got there on their own, and the rendezvous time was at 5:55 at 9,200 feet. So they increased altitude on the way into Hiroshima. The bomb was armed in flight because they were concerned that if the aircraft crashed, they would detonate the bomb, so they waited until the aircraft was in flight before arming it. The previous night, there were multiple air raids over Japan, and Hiroshima had gotten air raid warnings, and they were given an all clear by 5 after midnight. And at approximately 0700 Hiroshima time, Straight Flush was doing a weather check over Hiroshima and flew directly over it. They reported a cloud cover of less than 3/10 at all altitudes and advised bomb the primary. There was another air raid warning due to Straight Flush flying over, but that was called off by 7:09. About an hour later, Tibbets started the bomb run at 8:09, handed over the control to the bombardier, Major Thomas Farabee, and at 8:15, the bomb was released from 31,000 feet, and it took 44.4 seconds for it to fall to the detonation height of 1,900 feet. The Enola Gay was approximately 11.5 miles away when the shockwave hit. The bomb missed the specific aiming point by about 800 feet due to some crosswinds. The ultimate yield for Little Boy was approximately 16 kilotons with a total destruction area of a 1 mile radius and major destruction for about 10 square miles. No one on the crew actually knew the nature of the weapon, with the exception of Tibbets, Farabee, and William Parsons, who was the weaponeer who armed the weapon. He was from the Navy. Everybody else wasn't told what was going to happen, other than it was that you're going to see a big blinding flash, so be sure to wear those special goggles we gave you. Necessary evil was the camera ship, and all the cameras failed, unfortunately, in filming the bombing. So the only film that exists is from a 16 millimeter camera that was smuggled aboard the Enola Gay. So fortunately, somebody did a naughty, so we've got some film of the event. The Enola Gay touched down at 14:58 for a total mission time of 12 hours and 13 minutes. So that's what we've been leading up to for B-29 week. So now let's take a look at our Revell kit here. So as mentioned before, this fabulous box art by Richard Cashati. And this is an early kit from Revell, so they're really making emphasis of it being plastic and easy to build, as we've seen recently wood kits and how difficult those can be. Scaled from official blueprints and Revell's authentic kit. And I like the way they've got the little measuring instrument here as part of the A. Then we've got Cashati's signature down below and a patent number on the box cover, which you don't really see too often anymore. And we're talking about the new base, which was kind of this half globe. So they call it the revolving swivel base and revolves to any position. And we've got a copyright in 1950 here, and a sampling of other kits that were being produced by Revell. On the end, we got repetition of the box cover and the kit number 20898. This side, we've got some more kits available, and copyright 1954. And similar on this end, nothing on the bottom. And this happens to be, an empty box. It's got a slick that's been glued over the top of the hard box. But this is an original 1954 boxing, and I picked this up just because I like the artwork itself. So, why are we looking at this? Well, this kit has actually been re-released by Atlantis, and we have that here. Let's pull this up a little bit more so you can see a little more. So as you can see, they're using the same box art from the original, but the colors are off, and it's a little grainier image. So it's just not quite as nice at all. And I think this is just absolutely gorgeous. But what is interesting is that here, Revell's got this kit in this nice little thin little box here. And when Atlantis does it, same kit, they're putting it in this big giant box. And, it's twice as high, twice as big, a lot of empty space in there. They are calling out some of the special features of it. Box art suitable for framing, but not as nice as this. And what I did find interesting is that they're calling this a 1/20th scale kit, even though everybody seems to be referencing this as a 1/133rd scale. So I'm not sure where they came up with the 1/120th on that. And they've got images and whatnot of their assembled kit. Some more information. Of course, by now they got Boeing licensing, which is ruining a lot of ability for some of these older kits to get re-released, is getting all these licensing things now. And then on the back side here, we've got a big photograph of the assembled model and some information on here. But don't really care too much about this, because I do have the built version right here for us to look at. And so this is the repop. It's molded in kind of a silvery plastic, still kind of grayish, a little dull. It's nowhere near as beautiful as the original silver plastic that these early Revell kits were done in. But the mold is still in pretty good shape considering how often it has been released. And so I built it just straight from the box. The only thing I did was try to trim down some of the harder edges. I noticed that a lot of these repop kits have got really sharp edges on them that create these ridges. So a little bit of scraping with the X-Acto blade to be able to get rid of some of that. But it's a fairly simple kit. It's a small kit, a good little shelf model for a kid to put together with minimal amount of work. And you can get this thing together in an afternoon easily, as compared to some of these wood kits we've been looking at. So I left it in the Atlantis one comes with 3 different sets of markings. One of them's from the later series, or later release from Revell. Another one's for Fifi, the Confederate Air Force's B-29 that still flies. But I chose to put it in the same markings that were on the original box art, which is, as if it just came from the factory, I guess. And here is the Revelving stand. It has a little ball that gets wrapped around with this little wire hoop that holds it in place, and you can pivot it around pretty nicely to get it into all kinds of shapes. Revell got rid of this in the later issues of the B-29 with this really crappy stand. And you do need a stand with this, because this does not come with any landing gear. It is a very simple kit. As you can see here, everything's just molded closed, and they don't give you any extra things. Propellers do spin on it, but the turrets do not move. The turrets are glued in place, and very minimal amount of detailing, but it gets the look. So as you can see here, you can kind of move this around to whatever position you kind of want, and it'll hold pretty well. So it's a great stand. You can order just the stands from Atlantis. You can also order decals from them if you're unaware. If you need some replacement decals from one of the kits that they've produced, that you've got one of the old original ones, you can actually get decals from them. They're just like $5, so it's a good deal from that. And you can also get their version of the stand. Of course, it's been replaced. Instead of saying Revell, it's got Atlantis on there and their address. The only thing that's difficult with these is because it's a curved globe, the little round decals that come with all these kits just don't quite fit exactly well. You've always got some kind of ripple in them. Even if you're using microsol and microset, they still don't quite lay down perfectly, but still looks good. So this is what the kit would have looked like in 1954. So then there are a number of releases. You've got the original release, as I mentioned, in 54. Revell Great Britain did a release of this boxing in 56. Revell Odella, which is Mexico, did a release of this. And in 61, there's revised artwork as part of the Air Power series. It had new box art by Jack Lenwood. And then in 61, there was the Master Modelers version of that same boxing. Slight revision of the information that's on the top of the box. Revell Odella did a version of that. Revell Marusan, Japan, did a version of that as well in 61. Then 65, again, new artwork was done. And I believe that was also done by Jack Lenwood. This is where the new decals came out with the part of the Pacific Raiders collection. They revised this one, the B-24 and the B-25 kits, giving all Pacific markings for them. And the B-29 got the Dauntless Dottie decal set. Revell Keykohler, which is Brazil, did an issue of this one as well. And then in 73, you get your first photo box, part of the Truth in Advertising movement in the 70s, and it's a bright orange box, with a photograph of the built model. In 74, Revell Odella in Mexico did an issue of that photo box. 78, Revell Takara, who is the new distributor, manufacturer of Revell in Japan. They went back to the previous art from the 65 issue, but with a completely new box design that's actually pretty good looking. And then 79, Revell issued a new version of this with a different photo and a new set of decals with that one. And then in 79 also, Revell Keykohler in Brazil did a release of the 67 box again. And that was it until 2021, when Atlantis did their reissue with the original box art. And just recently in 2024, they did a reissue with the Pacific Raiders artwork with the Dauntless Dottie on the box cover. So if you want to build one of these, it is pretty readily available. There's a ton of the originals issues that are out there. But if you want to get a fresh new one, and I got to say the decals that came with this Atlanta are really, really nice. They go down very easily, and they're very thin. So if you're looking to do a build, that Atlantis one is definitely a good option. So that's about it for this. Wraps up our B-29 week. As always, if you built one of these, tell us about it in the comment section. If you have one sitting on your shelf still, take some pictures of it, send it in so we can share it with everybody in our next viewer build video. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for watching, and have yourself a great rest of your day.